What's up, guys? Cover 3 Media here, recapping this last trade deadline, going over the impacts for this year's fantasy and Dynasty as well. It's some pretty interesting moves out there, some moves we like to see for some players, other moves that, might have been a little bit questionable, but, well, let's get right into it.
Yeah, so first big trade that happened late in the deadline was Chase Claypool got traded from the Steelers to the Bears for their own second round pick. I mean, I like it for the Bears. I think it's smart to get their young quarterback another pass weapon, but at the same time, getting up that early second probably is a little ballsy, especially with a good receiving class where they maybe could get someone better. But I don't think Claypool personally, his value changes too much. I think maybe he can form a better rapport with Justin Fields than Pickett, but at the same time, I don't know, I'm not the biggest Claypool fan, to be honest. I think he's a good athlete, but I don't know if it's going to transpire to fantasy points.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and his quarterback situation didn't really get an upgrade from there. So, I mean, it's not like he's gonna be having a better guy throwing the ball to him. But maybe being the number one receiver in this offense, as far as just like a big threat, I think him and Mooney kind of have different play styles, but he might be able to fight for that number one receiver spot. And they could probably move Mooney into the slot more frequently. But again, it's Justin Fields. Not a big difference in quarterbacks there. So I think his production kind of remains the same. In dynasty wise outlook, I think it's kind of the same as in Pittsburgh. But I just don't know how I feel about Justin Fields compared to Kenny Pickett. It'll be a big question mark to see which one ends up being better and which one stays in the league. So,
I mean, I hate to say, but I could see both just not panning out. I mean, I think Pickett has some better intangibles, but Fields is an athletic guy. But I've been seeing a lot of things on NFL and fantasy Twitter community where a lot of people still think Fields is good, and I just don't understand it. Maybe I just am blind because I'm a Packers fan, but I just haven't seen anything that makes me confident in the guy because, maybe they got this pass weapon and they're gonna have an early first and they're just gonna take a new quarterback.
yeah.
That might fit better with Claypool, but I will say for Pittsburgh, Pickens, guys, he should be the number 2 option right there. It should be better value for him and Muth. I don't think it changes Deontay at all. I think he was still the number 1 guy. Don't think long term he'll be the number 1 guy, but they did pay him long term, so he'll be there. But yeah, it's funny. There's a clip that I saw last night that Chase Claypool actually announced the Pittsburgh Steelers second round pick last year, and it was George Pickens. So it's kind of awkward that they traded. He drafted the guy for the Steelers basically that replaces him. So
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I think what this just showed us in Pittsburgh is that they're opening the door for Pickens. I mean, we've seen the flashes of his overall talent, and this guy he's a dog, he's a beast.
yeah.
I think Pickens is kind of what they're hoping out of Claypool as far as that physical receiver who can pull down, passes that, are just tossed up there and someone's got to bring it down for a big play. I think that is Pickens' role going forward, and I think Pickens is going to work his way into the top of that depth chart within the next year or two. So they just opened the door for that, guys, and I think Claypool fell short of that. So, I think that's all for that trade. I don't really think it impacts Mooney or Komet much. Maybe it might, be a little bit helpful in certain games and a little bit detrimental in other games, but we'll just have to see how things play out. I think the biggest change will be in dynasty value, and that's going to be more relative to the quarterback situations for each team. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Next big trade that happened a few days earlier was Kadarius Toney getting shipped to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 3rd and 6th, I believe it was. I mean, Toney is a talented guy. I love the guy's great yards after catch ability, very physical. That juke rate Adam loves.
Yep.
You just got to stay healthy. I mean, he's been out basically all year. He says he hasn't been hurt, but who the hell knows what's going on? Guy definitely seems like a character, so who knows? But I like Toney going there, but there's a lot of people there that could compete for targets.
Yeah, I mean, as far as this year's value is concerned, I could see Toney working his way up the depth chart there. Obviously the current receivers there have established more, of a relationship with Mahomes and the coaches. So Toney being the new guy in halfway through the season, got to learn the playbook, got to establish some, respect, get healthy. So, I mean, I could see him have some good games later on in the season if he gets more involved, but he's got to work his way past some of the more established players who are older. Sky Moore, I don't know what that means for him, guys. They just brought in a young talent when they just drafted Sky Moore. I mean, that's not good news for Sky Moore this year, I think. That kind of shows that they might not be as, high on Sky Moore, but again, they might be just trying to also just kind of revitalize their youth at the wide receiver position. So it's nothing to be made, no decisions to be made on Sky Moore's overall dynasty value yet, but I think it's questionable there for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have him, I mean, like Sky Moore, it's tough to just trade him because I think a lot of people don't value him very high right now, especially after this move. So if I were a dynasty owner with him, I mean, if you're trying to win and you want to throw him in the trade, go ahead. But other than that, I would still just hold on to him, see how it plays out. But I mean, guys, they got Juju, MVS, Mecole Hardman, Travis Kelce, Sky Moore, and Toney. Now they got six receiving weapons, and I mean, Sky Moore hasn't produced a lot, but he's been buried in the depth chart. And then they just had another talented guy that, I think talent alone is better than Sky Moore, but they also both of them haven't really produced much. But Toney did have that big game last year, so he has that on Sky Moore. But man, I mean, the Chiefs, I'll just say this, they're not afraid to take a swing and just add another damn playmaker to their team. I wish some other teams, would do that, but I mean, I respect them doing it. And I saw a tweet that they said Toney's either going to be the next Tyreek Hill or just absolutely nothing for them. So yeah. I think that's a possibility that he becomes a big threat for them or doesn't do anything. We'll see what happens. I mean, Toney's dynasty value definitely goes up. But like if you don't have him, you're probably not going to be able to get him because that owner's probably going to see what happens there.
Yeah, certainly. And, as far as the future of this Chiefs team, we'll have to monitor Juju if he resigns or if he goes elsewhere. I could see him going elsewhere, but I could also see the Chiefs hanging on to him. But again, after this year, if he keeps up some of these big games he's been having, they're going to have to be paying him a lot more than what they're paying him now. And they might not be able to afford that. So maybe that's why they also acquired Toney, because they're going to need another guy in that offense alongside those established, veterans, I could say MVS and Hardman, but they're not, MVS and Hardman, they're just not going to give you, I think they've reached their ceiling. So yeah, I think they're trying to take a shot here with a low price tag kind of guy. So yeah, and then the Giants, obviously this season, that really doesn't change anything for the receivers there. We've seen that no one in that passing receiving game can really be a consistent guy in your lineups. Don't even think you can start any of them. But going forward, as far as dynasty value for these, receivers on the Giants, there's only one guy who really has value going forward. It's Wan'Dale Robinson. I guess maybe later on in the year, if he remains healthy, you could have some games. But again, all the other guys like Slayton and some of the other dudes on that team, it's just not looking good for their dynasty value regardless. So nothing really to say about that.
Yeah, I think the Giants definitely got a draft receiver next year because I think Wan'Dale's solid, but I don't see him being number one receiver in the NFL. He's a smaller guy. I mean, I think he can be a solid player, but I just don't. Nothing I've seen that makes me think he's got the talent to be a number one guy. That's why we've seen flashes in London, Garrett Wilson, Pickens even. So, we've seen flash where they look like they could be potentially number one guy eventually. So, we'll see there. But that's really it for the trade. You got anything else?
No, that's it there.
Yeah, Chiefs make another splash. What's new? This was a surprising one. I really did not see this coming. That Lions traded TJ Hockenson to the Vikings. I can't believe it that they traded in their division like that. And as a Packer fan, this sucks.
It's certainly not good for us guys. Just add another weapon to this Vikings offense that will make it harder for us to defend. But 6-1 Vikings currently, they're looking to make a push, obviously. So
yeah, I mean, I think Hawkinson's value stays about the same. I think he's going on an offense that has better weapons than the Lions did. JJ is a million times ahead of Amon-Ra, so it just comes down to will Kirk, like Hockenson. We can't really predict that till we see them play. I would value Hockenson the same I have, where he's a top, 5 to 8 tight end in Dynasty. Irv Smith, this isn't a good sign. He's most likely going to be out for a while. I saw they put him on IR, and we did see he's a free agent after the year, so Hockenson also is a free agent coming up, and the Lions didn't want to pay him. I heard they don't want to pay him $13 million a year, so that's why they traded him. got a pretty good haul, but they took the guy at 8th overall.
Yeah.
And they got a second back for him. I mean,
it's tough. I mean, if you're really trying to sell something, sometimes you got to take what you can get. So, I mean, this was their chance to get value back. And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, with this, I've been doing some thinking about it, and I think Kirk has kind of gotten his tight ends involved, but not a crazy amount. I mean, it's just kind of like matchups and who's open. So it's not like he feeds the ball to his tight end. So we'll have to see what happens here with TJ Hockenson. I still think he's a better threat than Irv Smith. I mean, Irv Smith, just from some of the games I was watching, he had some pretty bad drops that I noticed that could have given, the Vikings some more yardage or, help them, convert, a first down. And he dropped those balls. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I do got to say I have a little bit of concern this year for Adam Thielen going forward. I think Thielen is still, one of Kirk's better targets, and Kirk definitely has a relationship established with Thielen. I've seen over the past few years that he, pretty consistently looks to Thielen in the red zone, and for that touchdown type of guy. So I don't know how TJ Hockenson is going to affect this, considering he is a bigger tight end with the skill set to be a nice red zone target here. That could also interfere with JJ's touchdown production, but overall JJ hasn't really been a huge touchdown producer. He's been more reliant on receptions and yardage. So this might affect it a little bit, but JJ hasn't really been a huge red zone producer anyways. So that's my piece on it for this year at least. We'll see what the Vikings do with Hockenson. So
yeah, and then I would just say Lions, I think a big winner is Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think, when he had that huge stretch last year down the end of the year when he had all those big games, Hockenson was out all those games. So, there's not really other weapons in this offense. Swift's been banged up all year, if you've seen our videos. I think it should help Swift in the receiving game if he does play, get more looks. But, I mean, they're really banking on Jameis Williams to be good now. And the Lions, everyone's like, oh, I think they'll be solid this year. I think they'll win 8 games. Guys, they're 1-5, I think, again, 1-6. I mean, they got to get a quarterback, and then their defense is just absolutely dog shit. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Jared Goff's been a decent fill-in, but
yeah.
I think the consistency isn't quite there sometimes. And I mean, they've been able to produce for fantasy on offense, but their defense has just been atrocious. So that's not gonna help them win games there. And again, like what Devin said, Swift, I think he'll get some more action, but it's almost been a little bit scary for me because I've been talking about Swift since the offseason and how he's got reliability concerns, and now we're starting to see some more news about Swift not being able to carry the load and how they're almost managing his workload in games because they're concerned he's going to get injured again. So again, I think this opens up a door for Swift to get more receptions, and that's exactly the kind of back he is a receiving back. But are they going to keep him out there long enough to see that value come to fruition?
Definitely. We'll see what happens there. Another big trade that happened, this is a good NFL trade deadline, usually not a lot of moves. I was in the doctor's office and I see the Jaguars made a move and they got Calvin Ridley. We love Christian Kirk here at Cover 3 Media. I personally think he's a really good number 2 receiver in offense, and Ridley, if he's anything close to what he was 2 years ago, they just found a gem for a very low price. So I'm excited for Ridley in Jacksonville.
Yeah, let's just hope Ridley is, any off-field issue, whether it's personal or anything else, betting, I hope that's out of the equation for the sake of, fantasy owners out there in Dynasty, and just the sake of our overall enjoyment. I mean, having Calvin Ridley on the Jaguars, when he's more, later on in his career, I guess, would be nice. It's nice to see for Trevor Lawrence and that offense. So hopefully that plays out well for the Jaguars and Calvin Ridley. But yeah, like Devin said with Christian Kirk, definitely a better wide receiver 2 option where he's not the focal point of, defenses in defending the passing game. If they still have Ingram on their team, I could see it being a nice triple threat there. Obviously, Ingram would be the third option in the receiving game there. So obviously not any immediate impact for, this year because Ridley's not playing. So Yeah, and not a whole big impact for the Falcons obviously either because he wasn't playing anyways. But opening the door for more or continuous targets for and volume for London and Kyle Pitts, and if they happen to draft another guy this year, that guy having a easier way to walk into this offense in the starting lineup. But they're gonna have to get a new quarterback because Mariota just sucks.
Yeah, he's a good athletic guy, but they're winning games running the ball. I don't know why they're trying to win, but whatever. Yeah, it should be exciting to see him in Jacksonville. You know, Lawrence I think does need another weapon there, and now they don't necessarily need to take a receiver in the first round. Maybe they still will. I think they might need some other needs, but
Yeah.
you know, if you have Ridley in dynasty leagues, obviously season long you don't because he's suspended the whole year. I think people are going to get really excited about him in the offseason. You might be able to get a pretty nice return for him, but we'll see. I think at his best he can still be, you know, a top 10 guy. I mean, we've seen him do it, but I'm just like a little worried about him just because he hasn't played in a couple years, and last time he played he got banged up a lot. So
Yeah, I mean, and depending on where the Jaguars pick, I could see him taking one of these two tight ends that are supposed to be really good. I mean, that could be a really nice option for their offense and for Lawrence. Their defense is pretty dang good this year, and they got two phenomenal rookies in Devin Lloyd and what's his name, Trayvon Walker. So those guys have really been a help in their defense. Just having those extra guys that have talent and youth. So we'll see there, and yeah, I mean, just touching on the Falcons here, I don't know. Obviously, they have a lot of things to fix. Obviously, quarterback number one, but I mean, I could see them. I mean, it would suck for Dynasty if they didn't take a quarterback as far as Drake London and Pitts are concerned, but I could genuinely see them taking a running back early to help their offense if they can't get their hands on a quarterback, you know.
especially since their coach seems like he likes to run the ball a lot.
Yeah,
And I mean, they are winning. Like, it's good to see them win, but like, I just think the best point of action if I'm a Falcons fan is we need a quarterback.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of quarterbacks in this draft, but I mean, if I'm them, you know, you want a shot at one of the top two guys, but we'll see there. A couple of minor running back moves as well, really quick. Naheem Hines got traded to the Bills, and Zach Moss went to the Colts. I think it should help JT, but I don't know. JT, you know, didn't practice again this week. He might not be playing for this week, guys. So keep that in mind if you have him on your team. But I mean, I think Hines will fit well in Buffalo. It hurts James Cook, I think, for this year. Probably not long term, but you know, the Bills like to run pass the ball a lot, and I think Hines could be actually a pretty solid weapon. I don't expect him to be anything crazy, but I do like I think he has more upside than he did. If you have him on your team, I would definitely hang on to him.
Yeah, certainly, especially if there's any injuries there. I feel like Hines being in Buffalo there, say Singletary does go down for some reason, and he's the next guy up. There's definitely a lot less pressure on him to be, you know, good in that offense as far as, you know, the difference between him and Indianapolis with. When JT went down, it's like they really didn't have any other offense besides JT.
Yeah.
Unless Matt Ryan decided to have a game, and now he's on the bench. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely not really a big trade there. But
no, I was hoping Kareem Hunt would go there, dude. But
yeah,
I mean, I guess he's a free agent there. I guess the Browns are just gonna let him walk probably. But then a couple other minor ones real quick. We saw a trade between the Dolphins and 49ers where Jeff Wilson got shipped to the Dolphins to reunite with Mike McDaniel, who was his offense coordinator. So they got him and Mostert now. I still have a TikTok video up. Check it out. Mostert, I said it was a good start this week against the Bears, but I will say long term, I think I could see it being committee once Jeff Wilson gets more familiar with the offense, even though it's probably not that different than the 49ers. So, I mean, if you have either one of them, I mean, keep them on your team, and if one of them goes down, they'll have bigger weeks. But it's going to be a committee, guys. It's just like San Francisco. If they got McCaffrey now, though, it's a little different. But
yeah, I mean, when they got McCaffrey, I mean, I made a little video of it on our Instagram, TikTok, and it might have been too long to post on Shorts, but you know, that was a fantastic move for the 49ers, just taking some pressure off Jimmy G, because obviously he's not a dominant quarterback, and they needed that dynamic to, you know, really make defenses question and open up players like Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk down the field. and we just saw last week with Debo being out, still CMC was just amazing and helping that offense roll down the field. So it's going to be dangerous for sure.
Yeah, and then the last one really was Chase Edmunds in the Bradley Chubb trade. He got traded to the Broncos. Do you think he has any value really there? I know they got Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray, but I think he's probably better than them. But I don't know. I thought he'd be good this year, honestly. And Raheem Mostert was 30 years old, beat him out.
Yes, it's a really tough one, guys. It's tough because in Denver it seems like it's been a big question mark on what the heck they're doing there with the running back situation. So it could Chase Edmonds could come in and just take care of business and be the number one guy in that offense. I still think it'll be a committee of sorts, but it's definitely I think it's definitely looking better for him now that he's on this team, just because of the current running back situation, how that's been. So and I think there's a lot more options they could have had as far as trades. I think with Bradley Chubb, they could have gotten in return. So I feel like it had to been semi-intentional to get him. So,
Yeah, and they went out and right after that they acquired Jeff Wilson to replace Edmonds basically. So, we'll see what happens. The Dolphins are explosive offense with those receivers. So they added another running back that's familiar to the system. We'll see what happens. I don't think there's really any other trades. I'm going to look at my paper here real quick, see if there's anything else. Yeah. We could just briefly talk about just your reaction to Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks not getting traded.
Yeah, certainly interesting. I don't know why exactly the Denver Broncos were looking into trading Jeudy.
I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, it's tough. The quarterback play there hasn't been consistently great, but Sutton and Jeudy haven't really been that consistent either. Sutton was looking really good to start the year, but now I don't even know what's going on there. So, maybe they're looking to. This is what I've been thinking the whole past couple of years now, is that Jeudy just isn't living up to the standards of his draft capital when he was drafted back in 2020, I believe it was, and maybe they're just thinking hey, let's get some picks. We gotta find a different solution here. Jeudy isn't the answer, so I could have seen them doing that. Maybe they'll do it in the off season, but he's definitely needed there as far as their success is concerned. So
he's had some good weeks here, honestly, recently. I understand what they thought about it because they lost a lot of draft capital trading for Russ, but I don't see how that's really going to fix the problem. I just think they might just need to get rid of the coach because you can't really get rid of Russ Wilson. His value's down, and they paid him a shit ton of money. So
they're locked in.
Gosh, it's tough. I don't know if it's gonna be a bumpy ride, dude. Yeah. I really am really surprised how it's turned out. I'm not surprised Russ is struggling a little bit, but this bad, it's weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. And just to talk about Brandon Cooks, it's tough because the Texans they're not a playoff contender. They are strapping in for the long haul with their team. It's a complete rebuild. First they kind of screwed themselves over when they traded D-Hop for scraps. That wasn't really the best move, I thought. Obviously they didn't want to pay him, but I think D-Hop would have given them more of a just a chance, I guess, and it would have probably helped with the development of maybe Davis Mills. But I think we're seeing now that they're gonna have to scrap it and draft a new cornerback. They're probably gonna have to get some more wide receiver talent. I know they drafted Mechie, but he has cancer, so that's unfortunate for them. But Brandon Cooks, they should have just gotten some picks for. They're not contending this year. Somebody should have made. Well, I think they made offers for him, right? The Cowboys did, right? They were interested at least.
Yeah, there's definitely offers. I saw something that I think he's owed $18 million next year, so that might have been kind of why. But guys, I've been seeing him tweet some stuff, guys, and I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be really dumb for them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just caught him recently here because I don't see him wanting to play for them, and I don't blame him. He went there when Deshaun Watson was there and producing, and he did very well with him. Brandon Cooks, he's been all around the league. He was on the Rams he started on the Saints.
Yeah,
he started on the Saints, was very good. Then he got traded to the Patriots, and he was good there. And he got traded to the Rams, was good there.
Yeah,
and then he gets traded to the damn Texans. He's still been very solid. This year he's been down, but he's not in a good situation. He's playing with a bunch of guys that probably shouldn't be starters in the NFL. So it's like, I feel bad for the guy and for his fantasy value. You know, if you hung on to him and hoped that he got traded to a better team to get some better trade value in your leagues, it looks like it didn't work out, and looks like you're probably not getting anything for him anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe you should have made the move earlier.
Only a good fantasy manager would think of that, but I don't know, but I guess another guy kind of who was looking into a trade was Elijah Moore too.
Yeah, I mean, again, they took him in the second round. I was pretty high on him. He had some flashes rookie year, and I still think he's a solid receiver. I don't think he's going to be a number one guy or like a stud, but I think he's very solid for PPR, and he's clearly doesn't want to be there. He asked for a trade because they're not targeting him. Another video surfaced this past week, and he got one target, and they're like, the reporters are like, so what do you think, like, the connection's not there for Zach Wilson? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I don't know. I'm not getting the ball thrown at me, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And he's laughing about it.
Well, and
it's
it was,
like, what the hell?
And honestly, like, I get they're trying to build a very strong team, but like, they literally drafted a very, very good product in Garrett Wilson the year after they drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know I can't remember if they signed Corey Davis before the draft or after the draft, but I'm pretty sure it was right around that time, and it's like, well, who are you committed to here?
Right. I mean, they got a solid foundation. They got a solid defense. They got some solid offensive pieces. It sucks Brees went down for them, but if they're picking, I think this is my prediction. I think they're going to struggle the rest of the year. I don't think they're making the playoffs. I really think Brees is going to be really tough for them to replace. I don't think J-Rob or Carter are going to be able to replace that. I could see them still finishing around 500, guys, but if I were them, just let Zach Wilson, let him throw in some games, see what happens, and if you guys suck the rest of the year and you're picking early, I hate to say it, but I think it might be time ready. I know quarterbacks usually need longer chances, and but I just, again, Daniel Jones having a good year, whatever everyone wants to say, but it's just there's just nothing I'm seeing. Why are they giving these quarterbacks 4 or 5 years to figure it out? I'm sorry, most quarterbacks that have long NFL careers, you can see it within the first year, if not the second year.
Right.
And if I'm a Jets fan, I don't know how you believe in Zach Wilson. I saw another video of him saying, I don't care about the stats. But it's like, dude,
you suck.
Your running game was excellent, and that's the only reason you're winning. It's nothing to do with you. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. You got anything else?
Something could happen. Obviously, something could change, but it's like he had the running game to alleviate pressure. He had. I know he was a rookie receiver, but he had Garrett Wilson. He had some great games with Flacco. Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously Conklin has been a respectable option. He's got Corey Davis, who's still a respectable talent in this league. Corey Davis has never really been on a team with a great quarterback. No. And he's, he's had some good games here and there, and I think he's a physical talent, and that's why Zach Wilson kind of likes him, because he's just a physical guy that can, win some 50-50 balls. But then they have Elijah Moore too, who had some great games last year. And it's you got the options. If Rodgers was if Rodgers somehow was traded to the Jets and he's in the same situation, Rodgers would be, I think, a top 5 quarterback this year.
I think so too.
So it's what are you doing, bud?
Yeah, I just don't see the Mormon picking it up. It was funny the whole offseason with the mom and everything, but man, if that's all you got to write your NFL career about, look in the mirror, dude, and make a move. I'm seeing a lot of people saying shit about him, and I'm not trying to attack him. I just think if I'm the Jets, you guys have been so bad for so long, and you got actually some pretty good foundational pieces now, but the most important one is not looking good. And I don't know, man. It's a good quarterback class coming up. Maybe take a shot on a Will Levis or somebody if you guys are picking late in the first round. But I'm not a GM.
Nope, not a GM.
Not yet.
Gosh, well, yeah. I guess that wraps up our video, guys. Definitely some interesting moves here again, like we said. We were, on our Instagram and TikTok and some of our shorts, if we can fit the video into that time constraint, we're very on top of these moves, trades, cuts, anyone who's added off the, waivers. But so go check that stuff out. It's very quick, very easy to stay informed, stay on top of it, beat your league mates to the punch. Obviously, they're probably going to see the news reports, but we're going to dive deeper into it and give you the impact for fantasy this year and overall Dynasty. So we want you guys to stay informed on those moves so you can make the correct decisions with your teams. But yeah, definitely drop a follow. We got the link in the bio, link in the description here. Stay tuned. We're going to be coming out with more videos, some interesting videos. Devin just posted a video about a 2023 mock draft, part 1, just kind of highlighting some of the top players coming out of the draft for fantasy and Dynasty. Christian and I will be making videos on that later on, and we'll be having some more updates here. Trade deadline for your fantasy leagues, kind of who you should be targeting in your leagues come your trade deadline. Anything else to add?
No, I would just say, if you're watching at this point, give us a subscribe, guys. We really appreciate it. Again, everything he said, just, look out for us, guys. We're trying to build something here, and we really appreciate you guys if you have already, followed us. And again, if you have any questions, leave comments. Got, video ideas, even comment that you'd want to see. So we're always here and looking for new ideas here at Cover 3 Media.
Yeah, Cover 3 Media, we got you covered. Winning championships this season.